Hi there, welcome back to my channel. I'm Alma Cox and I'm in the process of reading a book that I wrote. It's a novel, Magical Realism. I wrote it about 5 years ago, or actually I published it 5 years ago. And we are currently on chapter 2. I'm only reading part 1 of this book. We just got through chapter 1, which had 7 days. And now I'm going to be reading chapter 2 and chapter 3. And they're not very long chapters, so I'm going to get going. Thank you again for being here. I hope you have something nice to drink and you're relaxed. And I'm reading slowly just so that I pronunciate very well for you. All right, here we go. Chapter 2. I'm way too self-serving and fundamentally negative to make any kind of difference, I tell my soul. I don't know why you don't see this. You have so much to offer, soul hollers. I can't stand that sentence. You don't have to yell, I'm right here. Embrace yourself, she sings. Ugh, that one's worse. You can be so simple-minded, I answer. This creative rewrite of my life story has suddenly become unmanageable. There's no wisdom to contribute here, I continue. The ailing cherub with the big heart isn't equipped to save anybody but herself. I feel like you've tricked me. Perhaps you're not channeling clearly, Soul says. I don't have time for this, I say back, and don't say a word about the non-existence of time or I will lose it. I hear the shower turn off. It's my turn to jump in to get ready for my corporate 8 to late job. Yep, like mother, like daughter. Don't even get me started on the predictability of karma. Look, I'm grateful for my job that I go to for my children's future. I say this every day. I want my soul to know that I mean it. But of course she knows my dirty little selfish secret. I just want to sit around and daydream stories into books. I want to paint amazing artworks that sell for a lot of money and make an inspired animation movie. I want to make money as a true original. I was only half joking at work one day when I said they should create a job position for me called visionary. In sum, I want to get paid for being me. Are you rolling your eyes yet? Oh, you've shut the book. I see. Well, she doesn't want me to be concerned with that. Soul wants me to own my self-serving desires and open my eyes to how my inner world, including everything I believe about my past and now, is creating my outer world. I know she means business because we've circled to this issue many times before. Hence my job in internal communications for a large utility company. Yes, power. She wants me to finally own mine. I can't say I adore her irony. This real job I asked for has turned out to be soul-crushing. My soul just raised her eyebrows in alarm. Allow me to rephrase. The real job I asked for is a bit of a daily grind. She shakes her head. I sigh heavily. This real job I asked for has turned out to be the hardest thing I've ever done. She folds her arms and I sigh heavier. This real job I asked for may be evolving me a teensy bit. She gives me a faint nod and a self-satisfied smile while I roll my eyes at her. It's my favorite form of exercise. You're such a hard ass, I say, even though she heard it coming. I know. I told you I make big dreams happen. Actually, my soul does, and I fall into step. So yeah, this is me living the dream. Anyway, I have a green team meeting this morning at work where we brainstorm ways to tell the company's positive stories creatively. A good concept in theory if the meetings didn't devolve into a competition of ideas and one-upmanship. Soul is looking at me squarely in the eyes. Okay already, I get it. I'm the one that can't stand it when other people shine brighter than I do. Sheesh. Accepting I create the job moment to moment and everything else, including my less than stellar attitude, zooms in on all the power I have squandered and given away in the past. Accepting I'm creating the story of my life means I have to face each moment with open arms and stop calling work a beatdown while simultaneously believing in my soul's next dream, like writing this book. Soul wants me to stop complaining and making excuses. There just isn't going to be much for me to say, I say sarcastically. Another long silence. I'll use the time to forage for breakfast. One PB&H on whole wheat later reminds me that I'm always feeding myself what's comfortable and that life is really meant to be lived on the edge of my comfort zone, on the crust, if you will, even if it means I might have a hard time swallowing it. Fine, I acquiesce as I chase a sticky lump in my throat with a swig of coffee. If you think there's something in this unruly telling that's fit for reader consumption, I'm on board, but you better make it easy. I'm done toiling. Her eyes grow wide with zeal. She's so damn hopeful. I've broken out in a cold sweat. Think of it as a rebranding, Dolores, she replies energetically, and she's back online, coursing enthusiastically through my veins. Wisdom is very now. I can do a lot with it. She's got her wild child, anything is possible look on, like we're in the green team meeting already, and she's coming up with ways to give my stories a feel-good twist. Good luck with that heavy lift. My mind is her whiteboard, and she wields a fluorescent green pen like a wand all over it. She takes a complex system of limitations, judgments, and arguments against myself and distills it into bullet points of what we'll work with. I see a pie chart in black with a tiny sliver in violet, like blueberry pie. She labels this sweet memories, and the black portion she calls Dolores's gloom and doom past, renew, restore, rename. Does she stop there? No. She mocks up a cartoony version of my head, and she's redirecting synapses to flow in a new direction labeled Dolores's highest expression of herself. Easy there, no unibrow. So unnecessary. There are curvy arrows like Medusa's snakes brimming from my head, pointing to fulfilling outcomes that she's directing to neat designated boxes. Love, abundance, success. Oh God, no bows. Now there are big loopy bows on her boxes. I'm not a fan of presents. She knows this. They always disappoint. Open yourself to receiving all the good that awaits, Dolores, she says to her schematic, her back turned to me. And for goddess sakes, she writes this really big as she says it, sell me to the highest bidder when we're done. And this is so her, always leaving me with a question. So am I understanding you correctly, I ask? You actually want me to sell my soul? Chapter 3. Boy, does she have my number. But I've got hers too, and I'm not falling for her tests. Not this time. I've learned my commitment to this book must be untainted. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for her. I see her reclining on her plush purple diva settee, sipping a Smokey and the Banana cocktail in her uber-modern, loft-style art studio, complete with a lap pool, with a seamless wall-to-wall window view of the Golden Gate Bridge, serenely sitting like a cat that just ate a canary, minus the smugness, but with a healthy dose of self-satisfaction. To be clear, you're in my mind's eye right now. I'm working on a masterpiece, she says. She paints my physical existence on a life-size canvas that is so very small, yet important, she tries to convince me. But will she ever be done with this work in progress? I want to know. Soul uses my love of painting and writing to speak with me. Painting gave the surface of my life depth. It's how I found her. Writing plumbs the depth for understanding. And one day, amidst all the words I journaled for years, I discovered her British accent. That's how I knew she was saying something smart. In time, she made it clear she's in everything I do. Some might say their work is their purpose, but I know that everything I am and have done, mother, wife, painter, teacher, writer, my corporate gig, are all my soul's expression. My purpose is to be ungracious me. So close, Dolores. You almost went a whole page without self-criticism. We're making headway. Soul is a glasses full with a yummy cocktail and spilling over for everyone to enjoy kind of entity. I'm more of an empty shot glass tongue trolling for residue like a bottom feeder kind of being. Anyway, I'm her conduit, no pun intended, given the nature of my employment at Paradise Power. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, whatever it is, that's her mojo. Thank goddess I figured this out, because staying aligned with her is the only way to survive corporate culture. And although it is difficult to admit, I am thriving there because of her. It's impressive, power and money, if you're into that kind of thing, which I have accepted I am, big time. You can't help being who you are, Soul says lovingly. Have I told you how much I love you today? Love you too, I say back, the same way Mel, my daughter, would, like she's tired of hearing it all the time, just how much I love her. I went from unemployed artist to earning 6 figures a year creating high-profile videos for the C-suite execs at the top. I got the answer I wanted in getting this job and have now realized I asked the wrong question. This, I've learned the hard way, is a miracle. I manage the president's and a cadre of VPs' sky-high expectations easily. I receive their harsh feedback as an opportunity to learn. My work on the 30th floor must be flawless. There's a lot at stake with community leaders and politicians I work with, like reputation, perception, and relationship. There's a revolving door that sees employees leave monthly, never to return again. The pressure is just too much. Some would call the intense environment toxic. It's not for everyone, and yet it's happening for me. I'm also very aware that when I'm faced with an unknown, when my soul says, I can do this, she's right. Mine looks like a dream job, even artsy by corporate standards. I also handle the company's most widely read newsletters. I was promoted within my first year and again during my third. The other day, a friend called my job enviable. Side note, Soul has catapulted my fear of failure into the stratosphere. I give you the opportunities, you determine whether to see them as I do, as primers for bigger, higher risk dreams. Soul emits from her bottomless well of wisdom. Slow your roll there. Not everything you say requires an exclamation point. As I was saying, work helps me believe in myself more, even with the writing, especially with my writing. She's clarifying what is true for me, getting to the essence of what I really want. Mind chatter tells me I'm not a writer. I'm chock full of trust issues. You've got some background. Also, several query rejections from literary agents don't exactly boost morale. If the book isn't published quickly, doesn't it mean, nobody wants it? Shouldn't I give up? Nobody wants Soul. Who doesn't want Soul? My soul asks. She is so in my face with self-awareness. What are you afraid of? As I'm willing to ponder her inquiries, she continues the dialogue. Don't take rejections personally. They're just saying no to the idea. It's not baked yet. You're on the right path. Keep it up. She sprinkles encouragement like powdered sugar on my fragile creative confidence, which took a beating when my art failed to support my life. Sometimes weeks go by where I tell myself, I don't need to write this book, and I don't. Oh, but I'll take a class on graffiti and drawing for animation instead. I'm smart enough to know this much. If my confidence isn't in the game, I must up my new fun learning experiences. Giving her cool shit to work with feeds my soul's insatiable appetite for creating through me. If I don't, look out. She'll create with whatever rogue feeling crops up, and a resigned, quiet desperation does not make for an interesting life. Let me believe you me. It's not that she doesn't love me. Soul is just that generous. Although I do find this part of her a little terrifying. She can create anything. Since I like to characterize, because it helps me deal, I imagine this creator aspect of her like a pet she keeps. If this beast isn't allowed to run in the hills every day and feel the wind in its fur, it makes a poopy mess of the backyard. It digs holes everywhere, gets out now and again, bites a kid. I call the pet Gehenna. I soothe this ironically named demiurgic, dangersome creature to protect the neighborhood. While writing simmers on the back burner with all my insecurities, I say, you see, you sweet infernal darling, we did get out today. We made the city pretty. Look at all the yummy drips we made on that wall on Howard Street. We wrote soul. We practically shouted our truth to the world. That's right, that was my paint can, our paint can. We know how to have fun. We're cool. Life is good, comfortable, enviable even. So for a little while, Gehenna doesn't unleash her hell wrath of mad-making angst. But Soul is infinitely smarter than I am, and my puny ploys to outwit her only up her game. She plays me, not the other way around. Here's an example of how she operates. I was very impressed with myself with a particular video I produced for a conference on leadership. After my son Tad watched it, he was quiet for interminable seconds. I wondered, have I rendered my opinionated son, who is always right, speechless? Was it that good? He finally broke the silence and asked, so you're basically making the Kool-Aid, is that what you do? The urban phrase with its disturbing origin did not sit well with me. Leadership is important, I said. If that's the kind of stuff they want, then I guess it's good, right? He said. Lots of cool effects, Mom. People talking about leading by example. It's good. Then why do I feel like you're totally unimpressed? Soul bites deep. So then I got in my head about what I do not really being all that necessary. It's not like I'm keeping the lights on at the utility. Most importantly, what my children think about what I do really does matter to me. I want them to be proud of me. I want to set a good example and be more so they too can ask the best from themselves. Soul slowly bleeds me until raw, unfiltered truth is the only thing left. Soon, I felt like a hypocrite. I spent their childhood telling Tad and Mel to trust themselves, to go after what they were passionate about, to mine their gifts and cherish them. Tad is majoring in video game design. Milena won a scholarship to play basketball in college. They're making their dreams come true. Hypocrisy then preyed on a past insecurity of feeling like a phony. It begged the questions, am I fulfilled by being impressive? Am I following my passion? Well, honest answer, Soul is my passion. Soul always has me right where she wants me when I'm willing to acknowledge what matters most. She then delivers blinding inspiration that keeps me on the path she wants me on. Like a few days ago, for example, a couple weeks after my conversation with my son, I walked to Coit Tower at lunch to see the gardens below it, and blammo! My soul is a stealthy seductress. Beauty is her plaything, and I am her whore. She manipulated me with one hypnotically scented rosa piece, just like the ones in my wedding day bouquet. It retrieved an effervescent memory. Kyle removed a bloom before I threw the bouquet and said, so you can press it with your leaves. It was sweet. Love was heady in the air while Eric Clapton's Wonderful Tonight doped us with dopamine in a very good way, its potent effects still working me over 20 years later. I was in that lovely space when I turned to look at the city's skyline. I felt more rapture. A glimmering outline appeared on the edge of my imagination, a naked San Francisco girl with flowers in her hair. This version of her was new. A character I created, usually draped in groovy retro prints and more cartoony than this sexy transparency moving between the Bay Bridge and the Transamerica building. She moved toward me, her giantess hand reached in and plucked the coral, fragrant rosa piece from its surroundings and added it to her mass of wisteria tendrils atop her head that dripped in lilac shimmer in an outline of stars. She smiled. And all I wanted was to bring her to life. My alarm went off, literally. It was time to walk briskly back to the office where I make the Kool-Aid. Neural synapses push the flight of fancy away. I don't have time to make a whimsical animation. I barely know how to work the program. There's no time to create beauty. Creativity is a luxury you don't have. No, no, no. You have an important job and you better get back to it. Chop, chop. Wait a minute. Let's rewind the mad messaging in my head. Is my work unnecessary or important? I asked myself. Is art important or a waste of time? What the fuck? That's when Mastermind Soul dialed up the dopamine with can-do spirit. I can write about this. I can make sense of this paradoxical confusion. I can kinda sorta see a chapter. When I write, San Francisco girl with flowers in her hair will come to life in minutes. I don't need to know some fancy program with code. I already know the alphabet. I can do this. Isn't self-publishing a thing? I can do the corporate thing and be a writer. My brain, awash in soul's chemical cocktail, was rendered highly motivated to do her bidding. Damn, she's good. No matter that I'm up and down like a yo-yo. That's just how she rolls, getting to the essence of what she truly wants for me. So here I am, yet again, and with high hopes, configuring 26 letters in a novel way. Yay me. Don't feel sorry for me for even a second. Right now, I sit in a pillowy nest of a bed in a gorgeous room at the Omni Hotel in San Francisco on a Friday night. My view is of exquisite architectural details, cornucopias that link capitals atop pillars that flank long, narrow windows on buildings that punctuate a robin's egg sky. The image is framed by curtains I dreamed of as a girl, with a fleur-de-lis pattern, the color of turmeric on cream. It complements a bedspread quilted in trapunto in a deep cerulean. So dreamy. I've sequestered myself for a weekend of writing because my good life of eating out at lovely restaurants with Kyle and making love at any time of the day on the weekend because we're empty nesters is too distracting. That's right. I pay lots of money to keep my inner procrastinator in check. I put my inner guilt to work, standing watch at the door to make sure I make every dollar count. This is how we play nice now, my inner saboteurs and I. I indulge them in ways that serve me, not the other way around. I'm done with that tortured chapter of my life. Obviously, my soul and I are still working out the kinks as I pepper her with questions. Is my vision really a value add to Earth? Will my family disown/sue me as I disclose wrongdoings? Is it possible to die of fear of being misunderstood? Soul says, let's examine these kinks. Scalpel, please. My childhood dream to write was literally buried 3 feet deep in the 7th grade. I'm a writer when I grow up was my title and underlined thesis sentence, followed by a 2-page descriptive essay on what it would feel and look like to become what I intended. It was rubber band along with other students' ambitions they'd written and placed in a very official time capsule at the edge of the playground. Mr. Pierce, my teacher, believed in the power of words and memories. He believed they created the future. The past delivers this crystalline memory so my soul can make more with it. A writer of fiction or nonfiction? Mr. Pierce asked me. I like writing about what's real. I meant my feelings. Ah, nonfiction. Yes, you do like facts. I remember this conversation because I felt misunderstood, but I didn't have the words, much less the sassy pants my friend Rachel had, to tell him he was wrong. Sassy pants was his term for her. She loved it, and I remember resenting how it made her special in his eyes. I wished I was like her, and like most of the people I chose to befriend throughout my life. I wanted to be anybody but me. Rachel, like the others, had some spark I wanted. Rachel talked back to teachers and got away with it. She charmed herself into pluses from minuses, bypassing plain letter grades completely. When she wanted something, she got it, like seeing the cute boy Dennis's penis. She had no qualms offering him a peek at her vagina first. She had nothing to lose with any of her actions, like hiding out in solitary confinement on that memorable field trip to Alcatraz Island when we missed our boat. She never regretted it once during our week of after-school cleanup detention, whereas I picked up garbage, completely mortified and boiling inside that Rachel didn't care what anybody thought of her. Why was I so mad? Well, I wasn't quite ready to allow myself to not care what others thought of me. I wrote a story I never shared with anyone back then about sassy pants, a pair of quilted velvet bell-bottoms that strut around the main street of a town. All the plain pants in the windows hate her. They perceive her as a show-off. Sassy Pants overhears the plain pants talking one day when she walks into a store. Uncharacteristically, she runs out of town upset. As she does, her hem gets caught on a fence wire and tears. As she hangs there, she unravels, and her multicolored velvet squares disperse in the wind. The richly hued squares end up pressed against the windows of the town, a reminder to the plain pants of their jealousy. As an adult, I can see I wrote about how I felt through characters as a way to safely explore the real me who I didn't like. For better or worse, I let Mr. Pierce's words define me that day because it was another layer to gloss over what I felt I was already: small, jealous, and a pretender. When I wasn't with Rachel, I pretended to be like her with my cousins and my sisters, albeit without her natural confidence. I showed off my athleticism, doing cherry drops and climbing high up in trees. "You're just not good enough," I remember saying to them so many times. I was really mean, especially when adults were not looking, laughing at the expense of others, even though I knew they suffered. I lied constantly to my friends about how much money my family had, and I invented stories about my father's absences when he was checked out of our life. Mr. Pierce offered me a way out of the discomfort of being who I was to be someone who others would respect through facts that would impress. Over the years, I became someone who had to be right all the time, and it would be a powerful feeling to prove others wrong and to correct them. Eventually, the know-it-all and the perfectionist would join forces to become someone I just couldn't stand anymore. You're probably wondering why this book is in the fiction category as I reveal all these shameful facts. I'm actually wondering the same thing. Dolores, I'm sitting here toying with the word blovel. It perfectly straddles the blog feel of your writing and the novel you are insisting we call it, my soul says. I thought I'm narrating, I answer incredulously. I've been meaning to speak with you about that. What? Am I not giving enough details? Not honest enough? I answer, panicky. I finally worked myself up into believing I could write a book, and now she's changing the game plan. It's just right, like you. Hardly, I mutter. The Dalai Lama said the world will be saved by the Western woman, and I know he meant that to be in your lifetime. Frankly, my dear, you are a painfully slow writer. I'll be omniscient narrator. It's really my area of expertise. You said it, it's time to take this project to a higher level. I'm sorry. I checked out there for several minutes to stare at the blinking cursor, letting her proposal sink in. I don't like the sound of it, not one bit. I need a moment to process, please. I don't see how this is going to work. High Almighty needs some grounded perspective. No, I say decisively, and that's a firm no. I don't care if you think I'm blocking my soul, I say defiantly. You're fine in small doses, but Pollyanna painting herself happy will rub everyone the wrong way. I'm narrating. Minutes pass. I hear no response. More minutes. Who's escaping reality now? I lash out, continuing my rambling argument with my non-opponent. Let's see how it would pan out, shall we? You're all about visualizing the end. Here's what the review might look like. Calling Dolores is a magical realism blovel about a self-indulgent female writer's identity crisis that, no surprise, manifests a confusing multi-person narrative. An omniscient narrator claims her higher-level powers can save the story, but in fact succeeds only in dooming the author's writing career for all eternity. You need to get laid, my soul responds flatly. Damn it, do they need to know everything? It's our inside joke. It used to be that sex took the edge off, and now I have to run to my bed to lay down to meditate as if my life depends on it. Let my truth be your compass. Okay, I promise to lay down for a little bit if you refrain from your absurd idea of narrating. Deal? No deal, she says emphatically. She leaves me hanging to the only thing I can, the F word. Faith, she sings. You know those people who are annoyingly up all the time? This is what I'm dealing with. She wants me to be so confident in myself, in our creations, that it just doesn't matter what anyone thinks about anything we do. Thank you for your attention. That is the end of that chapter, and I will record the next chapter tomorrow. If you like this video, if you like the reading, please do give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And if you are new to this channel, welcome. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd love to have you here. Okay, thank you everybody. Have a great day. Happy creating. Bye.